The first time I heard Marcus's voice in my head, I thought I was losing it. I was scrubbing dishes in our cramped Seattle apartment, the kind with peeling linoleum and a view of a brick wall, when his low, velvet tone whispered, "God, he's so damn cute when he's focused like that." My sponge froze mid-scrub, suds dripping onto my sneakers, as my heart slammed against my ribs. I spun around, expecting to see Marcus leaning against the counter, smirking. But the kitchen was empty, the only sound the hum of the fridge. Marcus was in his room, door closed, probably hunched over his laptop, coding one of his indie games. I stood there, gripping the sink, wondering if I'd imagined it. Then it came again, clear as if he were standing next to me. If I kissed him right now, would he freak out or kiss me back? My face burned, and I dropped the sponge entirely. I'm Jaden Carter, 25, a graphic designer scraping by on freelance gigs, and Marcus Delgado, 27, is my roommate of 6 months. He's a game developer with a laugh that could melt glaciers and a habit of leaving his gym socks everywhere. We met through a Craigslist ad. Yeah, I know, risky move, and clicked over late-night talks about sci-fi movies and cheap tacos. He's got this effortless charm, all broad shoulders and warm brown eyes. But I never thought he saw me as anything more than the guy who paid half the rent. Until now. Until his thoughts started leaking into my head like a radio I couldn't turn off. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it. Was I psychic? Delusional? I tested it the next morning. Marcus was in the living room, sprawled on our thrift store couch, scrolling through his phone. I focused on him, willing his thoughts to surface. Nothing, just the usual chaos of my own brain. But then, as I poured coffee, his voice hit me again. Why does he have to wear that tight shirt? It's torture. I nearly spilled the pot. My shirt wasn't even that tight. I didn't tell him. How do you tell your roommate you're hearing his private fantasies about you? Especially when those fantasies make your pulse race and your stomach twist with something dangerously close to want. I tried to act normal, but every time he smiled or brushed past me in the hallway, his thoughts would slip through. I wonder what his skin tastes like, and I'd have to pretend I wasn't unraveling. Days turned into weeks, and the thoughts grew more vivid. Some were sweet, like I'd killed to take him to the pier, just us and the stars. Others were less innocent. Pinning him against the wall would be so easy. I'd choke on my cereal, avoiding his eyes, while he rambled about his latest game level, oblivious. But it wasn't just the spicy stuff that got to me. Sometimes, I'd catch darker fragments. What if he finds out I'm into him and bolts? Or I'm such a coward for not saying it? Marcus was wrestling with his feelings, and I was an unwilling eavesdropper to his heart. The worst part? I was falling for him too. Hard. His laugh, his late-night rants about game mechanics, the way he'd leave me coffee when I pulled all-nighters. It was all weaving its way into me. But how could I trust my feelings when his were literally hijacking my brain? Was I into Marcus because I wanted him, or because his desire was bleeding into me? One evening, I couldn't take it anymore. We were on the rooftop of our building, a rare clear night in Seattle, fairy lights twinkling above us. Marcus was sipping a beer, talking about a bug in his code, when his thoughts hit me like a freight train. I'd give anything to hold his hand right now. My breath caught. I looked at him, his profile sharp against the city skyline, and something snapped. "Marcus," I said, voice shaky, "what are you thinking about right now?" He froze, beer halfway to his lips. On my game. His eyes darted to mine, wary. Oh God, does he know? I swallowed hard. No, I mean really thinking. His face paled, and for a second, I thought he'd bolt. Then his thoughts flooded in. He can't know. He can't. I stepped closer, heart pounding. "Marcus, I heard you." In my head. He laughed, nervous. "What? Like I'm broadcasting my thoughts." I nodded, and his smile vanished. "Wait, you're serious? What would you do if you were Jaden, standing on that rooftop, about to confess something impossible. How would you explain a connection you don't understand, especially when it's tangled with feelings you're terrified to name? Marcus stared at me, his beer forgotten, as the Seattle skyline glittered behind him. The rooftop felt smaller, the air heavier, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. He's messing with me. He has to be. His thoughts were loud, panicked, but his face stayed guarded, a mask of confusion. "Jaden, what are you talking about?" he asked, voice tight. "You heard me in your head?" "Like telepathy." I nodded, my throat dry. "Since last month. It's your thoughts. About me." His eyes widened, and a flush crept up his neck. Oh God, what did he hear? The stuff about kissing him? Worse? I wanted to tell him it was okay, that I wasn't judging, but my own fear kept me rooted. How do you admit you've been privy to someone's soul without their consent? "Prove it," he said, crossing his arms. What am I thinking right now? I focused, and there it was. If this is real, I'm screwed. He'll hate me. I took a deep breath. "You're thinking I'll hate you if this is real." Marcus stumbled back, nearly knocking over the potted plant with the chalkboard sign. "Holy shit," he whispered. How is this happening?" "I don't know," I admitted. "It just started. I thought I was going crazy, but it's only you. I don't hear anyone else." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "This is too much. He knows everything." His thoughts were a storm. Fear, shame, and something softer, like longing. I wanted to reach out, to tell him I felt the same pull, but the weight of his vulnerability stopped me. What right did I have to his secrets? "We need to figure this out," he said finally, stopping to face me. "Like, is it just you hearing me, or?" I hadn't considered that. "Try thinking something specific," I suggested. "Something I wouldn't guess." He closed his eyes, brow furrowed. "Okay, I'm thinking about the time I cried watching The Last of Us Part 2. I snorted, and he opened his eyes, startled. "You heard that?" "Yeah, The Last of Us. You cried." He groaned, covering his face. "This is so embarrassing." "It's not," I said softly. "It's kind of amazing. And terrifying. Because now I knew his heart, but he didn't know mine. Not yet." The next week was a minefield. Marcus tried to act normal, but his thoughts were louder than ever. He's too quiet. Is he freaked out? Or God, I want to kiss him so bad. I'd blush and look away, pretending to focus on my tablet sketches. We didn't talk about it again, but the air between us crackled with unspoken questions. Could I hear everything? Was it permanent? And why just him? I started researching psychic phenomena, telepathy, even weird medical conditions. Nothing explained it. One night, I found Marcus in the living room, surrounded by empty coffee mugs, scrolling through forums about mental links. He looked up, sheepish. He's going to think I'm obsessed. "You're not obsessed," I said, and he flinched. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's fine," he cut in, but his thoughts said otherwise. "It's not fine. I feel exposed." I sat beside him, keeping my distance. "Marcus, I'm not trying to invade your privacy. I can't control it." "I know," he said, voice soft. "It's just you're hearing stuff I haven't even admitted to myself. Like how much he wanted me. Like how scared he was of ruining our friendship." I wanted to tell him I felt the same, but the words stuck. What if my feelings were just echoes of his? How could I trust what was real? Then, one night, everything changed. I was sketching in my room when a new kind of thought broke through. Not words, but a vivid image. Marcus, in his room, imagining us tangled in his sheets, his hands on my waist, our breaths mingling. My pencil snapped in my hand. The image was so real, so visceral, I could feel the heat of it. I stumbled to his door, knocking before I could stop myself. He opened it, shirtless, hair messy. "Oh no, did he hear that?" "Yeah," I gasped. "I saw it. All of it." His face went crimson. "Jaden, Don't," I said, stepping closer. "Don't apologize. Just tell me. Is that what you want?" He swallowed, eyes locked on mine. "More than anything." "Yeah," he whispered. "But I'm scared it'll mess everything up." What would you do if you were Marcus, standing there, your deepest desires laid bare? How would you bridge the gap between fear and truth? The air in Marcus's room was thick with tension, the kind that makes your skin hum. He stood there, shirtless, his thoughts a chaotic swirl. He's so close. I could just reach out. My own heart was a drumbeat, loud and unsteady. I wanted to close the distance, to let his fantasies become ours, but the weight of his fear, and mine, held me back. "Jaden," he said, voice barely above a whisper, "what do you want?" The question hit like a punch. I'd been so caught up in his thoughts, I hadn't faced my own. Did I want him because I heard his desire, or because I'd always felt this pull? I thought of our late-night talks, his hand brushing mine when we passed the popcorn bowl, the way his smile made my chest ache. "I want you," I said, the words spilling out before I could overthink them. "But I'm scared too." His eyes softened, and for the first time, his thoughts were quiet, like he was holding his breath. Then he stepped forward, closing the gap, and kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, like he was testing the waters. Then it deepened, and I felt it. His want, my want, tangled together in a way that made the world fall away. His hands found my waist, and I melted into him, the line between his thoughts and mine blurring. But the bliss didn't last. The next morning, his thoughts were back, sharper and darker. What if this is just the link messing with us? I froze, halfway through pouring orange juice. He was at the counter, slicing fruit, oblivious to how loud his doubts were. I wanted to scream that it wasn't just the link, that I'd felt this before his thoughts invaded my head. But how could I prove it? We tried to keep things normal, but the link made it impossible. His fantasies grew bolder. I want to take him to the coast. Just us, no distractions. But so did his fears. What if he only kissed me because he heard me want it? I started avoiding him, working late at coffee shops, sketching until my eyes burned. But the thoughts followed me. He's pulling away. I ruined it. One night, I came home to find him on the couch, eyes red. "Jaden, we need to talk," he said. "I can't lose him." I sat, keeping the coffee table between us. "I hear everything, Marcus. Your doubts, your fears. It's killing me." He winced. "I didn't know it was that bad. I can't stop thinking about you." "I know," I said, voice breaking. "But I don't know what's mine anymore. Am I in love with you? Or am I just wired to feel what you feel?" He reached for my hand, then stopped, his thoughts screaming, "I'm making it worse. Maybe we need to figure out why this is happening," he said. "There's got to be a reason." We dove into research again, scouring libraries and obscure websites. We found myths about soul bonds, scientific papers on neural resonance, even a Reddit thread about psychic roommates. Nothing concrete. But one night, Marcus found an article about a rare neurological condition triggered by intense emotional proximity. It was a long shot, but it suggested the link could fade if the emotional trigger was resolved or amplified. "So, what?" I said, half laughing. "We just confess everything and hope it stops." Marcus didn't laugh. "Maybe if I tell him I love him, it'll break." My breath caught. He hadn't said it out loud, but the thought was so clear, so raw, it felt like a vow. "Marcus," I said, "did you mean that?" His eyes widened. "You heard that?" I nodded, tears prickling. "Say it, please." He took a shaky breath. "I love you, Jaden. I have for months." The link went silent. For the first time in weeks, my head was my own. I laughed, a sob catching in my throat, and pulled him into a hug. "I love you too," I whispered. But even as we held each other, a new fear crept in. What if the silence meant the link was gone, but so was the truth of our feelings? How would you navigate a love born in such an extraordinary way? What does it mean to trust your heart when your mind has been tangled with someone else's? The silence in my head was deafening. For weeks, Marcus's thoughts had been a constant hum, a mix of desire and doubt that shaped my days. Now, with his confession hanging between us, the link was gone. I should have been relieved, but instead, I felt unmoored. Was my love for him real, or had it been a byproduct of his mind bleeding into mine? Marcus held me, his breath warm against my neck, but his eyes were searching. "You okay?" he asked. "He's freaking out." I shouldn't have said it. "You didn't think it," I said, pulling back. "I didn't hear anything." He blinked, realization dawning. "The link, it's gone?" I nodded, and his face fell. "Does that mean you don't feel the same anymore?" "No," I said quickly, grabbing his hand. "I meant it. I love you. I need to know it's mine." He nodded, squeezing my hand. "Then let's figure it out. Together." We decided to test it, to rebuild what we had without the link. We went on dates, real ones, not just late-night talks over pizza. We walked along the Puget Sound, sharing stories we hadn't dared voice before. Marcus told me about his childhood in Texas, the fear of coming out to his family, the freedom he found in Seattle. I shared my own struggles, growing up Black in a small town, always feeling like I had to prove myself. Without his thoughts in my head, I had to trust his words, his touch, the way his eyes lit up when I laughed. But the fear lingered. What if the link had been the only thing holding us together? One night, at a diner overlooking the water, I voiced it. "Marcus, what if we're just caught up in this weird thing? What if it's not real?" He set down his coffee, his gaze steady. "Jaden, I wanted you before the link. I noticed you the day you moved in, sketching at the kitchen table like it was your whole world. The link just made it harder to hide." I smiled, warmth spreading through me. "You never said anything." He laughed, a little sad. "I was terrified. Still am. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." That night, we kissed under the stars, no thoughts intruding, just us. And for the first time, I trusted it. The link had forced us to face our truths, but what we built now was ours alone. Months later, we were stronger. The link, a strange memory we laughed about over breakfast. We never found out why it happened. Maybe it was neurological, maybe it was fate. But it didn't matter. It had stripped us bare, forced us to confront our fears and desires, and left us with something real. One evening, back on our rooftop, Marcus took my hand. The chalkboard sign still leaned against the potted plant, its words faded but legible. Love wired us together. He smiled, tracing my knuckles. "You ever miss it?" Hearing me, I laughed. "Sometimes. But I like this better. Just you, just me." He kissed me, slow and sure, and I knew, link or no link, this was home. What does it mean to love someone when you've seen their rawest truths? How do you build something lasting from a connection that started so chaotically? For Jaden and Marcus, the answer was simple. You choose each other, every day, no matter how the story begins.